Welcome back and thank you for staying with us on Daybreak, a show coming to you live from our studio here in the nation's capital. Let's start by taking a look at the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper here, where the major story is on flood. That's Maiduguri flood. Said about 400 million naira budgeted for ALAU Dam in 4 years. Now this, of course, is according to the governor, Babagana Umar Zulum, where he said the dam was neglected for years. Its defects discovered 9 years ago. That's according to a report. Now, while the governor is even saying, this has been neglected for years, and there's been about millions budgeted for this, and definitely when they say you made budget, then the money has come in some ways. But report is saying for 9 years that dam has been just standing on a thin ice, which broke, and of course we know how the aftermath was. Now, fear of disease grows as Borno decries harmful practices. Survivors wash, cook, and with contaminated water. A really scary one. Below there, of course, you'd see the pictorial of the survivors of this flood. A dry cleaner, Mohammed Adamu, washing clothes with the flood water. Some of the survivors fetching water from a tanker in Bakassi camp, Maiduguri, and some of the flood victims in an IDP camp. Below that, we see Obasanjo Abdusalami, Gusau meets IBB. Uganda Airlines debut their direct flight to Abuja. 400 jobs to go as Scotland's only refinery shuts down in 2025. Cholera kills 4, hospitalizes 36 in Adamawa State. Hotel owner, manager, guest, 2 vigilantes shot dead by kidnappers. Maulid, Tinubu speaker, governors, others and also facilitate with Muslims. NNPC lifts 70 trucks of petrol in fresh dispute with Dangote. Now, these are some of the stories that you'd find on the Daily Trust newspaper. Let's quickly move on to other newspapers here. Taking a look at the Guardian, where the major story is talking about confusion over pump price subsidy as federal government offtakes Dangote petrol. NNPC insists on 898 naira per litre, excluding associated cost. Tinubu gives minister 1,200 bags of rice each as palliatives for distribution. Eid al-Maulud, Tinubu greets Muslims as IGP order security beef up. Edo Guba, state government alleges plan to withdraw Obaseki's security details. Banks sacks 49 as fraud-related losses spike by 904% in the second quarter. Telecom operators set to deactivate unlinked SIMs as deadline expires. Obasanjo meets Abdusalami, and Abdusalami meets with IBB. Maiduguri flood, federal government releases pictures of 281 fleeing inmates, captures 7. There's a synagogue building collapse. Group laments non-prosecution of indictees at 10th anniversary. Now, these are the stories that you'd find on the Guardian newspaper. Let's move to the Daily Times, where NNPCL Dangote trade words over the PMS pump price. We bought petrol from Dangote refinery at 898 naira per litre. That's according to NNPCL. NNPCL's claims misleading, mischievous, says Dangote. Federal government hails lifting of petrol from Dangote refinery, says it's a step towards industrialization and local refining. Nigeria sentenced to death in Indonesia for drug trafficking released. Nigerian banks lose about 42.6 billion naira to fraud in the second quarter of 2024, marking dramatic surge. Elevates Nigerians suffering through empowerment. APC group urges the federal government. Top of the page there we see flood. 7 out of 281 inmates in Maiduguri are recaptured. Those are the ones that escaped. Below there we see the president and Ganduje begging Nigeria, saying they should keep supporting the president during the Eid al-Maulud message. Urges Muslims to continue to pray for peace, stability, prosperity in Nigeria. At the belt there we see stop arresting intimidating activists. face issues affecting Nigerians. NNPP chief tells the federal government. These are the stories you find on the Daily Times this morning. Moving on to this day, at the top of the page there we see presidential initiative signs deal with 75 firms to expand use of gas-powered vehicles nationwide. Riders are talking about targets over 1 million free kits. Tinubu back in Abuja after visit to China and UK. Below the headlines there we see second assassination attempt on Trump in 2 months, suspect in custody. The federal government lifting of petrol at Dangote refinery marks return of industrialization. Riders are talking about NNPC sets Lagos price at 950 naira per litre, Borno's at 1,019 naira per litre for Dangote fuel. National Oil Company assures fuel queues to disappear in few days. Declares naira for crude arrangement to ease FX volatility. Fuel scarcity in Nigeria over, that's according to Otedola. You find all of these stories on page 5. And yeah, basically, these are the stories that you'd find on this day newspaper. Taking a look at the Nigerian Tribune, where the top of the page is talking about Nigerians continue to lament the high cost of cooking gas. We purchase petrol from Dangote at the 898 naira. That's what the NNPC are saying, where Dangote refinery is replying, your quoted price incorrect. The federal government's $900 million bond, naira strengthens. Federal government, or the FX reserves up by $620 million in 10 days. Major story is Edo PDP APC bicker over alleged planned removal of Obaseki's security. And Yaoku international community watching the INEC and others. Any manipulation will cause exodus of Nigerians to Europe. That's according to the PDP. Wants EU to prevail on INEC and others to respect will of the electorate. This story is you find on page 22 and 23. Below that we see Maiduguri flood, where the NCOS declares 281 inmates missing. UN team arrives Borno on assessment visit. Atiku in Maiduguri donates 100 million naira to victims. NAF airlifts aids to flood hit Maiduguri resident. Nigeria receives about 50 tons of relief materials from UAE. Beside that, we see Ekiti to spend 15 billion naira on construction of Ado Iworoko Ifaki Federal Road. Survivors of Uniben building collapse recount their ordeal. Implementation of e-call app system on Lekki Ekpe corridor begins. This you find on the Nigerian Tribune and even more stories. Moving on from the Nigerian Tribune, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper or the Daily Independence. So top of the page there we see Sarab sues Tinubu over failure to reverse petrol price hike. We are not afraid of treason charge. October protest must hold. That's according to Shore. I mean, we saw how immediately he got into the country, he was detained, but he was released that same day in just few hours. So yeah, this is my first time of even hearing there was going to be a protest in October. Below the headlines there, we see finally NNPCL trucks load first set of petrol at Dangote refinery, but Dangote denies the selling of PMS at 898 naira. So what is the price is what Nigerians want to know. Assures Nigeria of quality products and end to fuel scarcity. Below there we see you can't compare Obi to Trump. POMR tackles presidency. Okay, you'll find that on page 6. NCOS releases details of the 281 inmates missing after Maiduguri flood. Atiku donates 100 million to assist. Edo government accuses APC of plan to veil thugs in police uniforms to disrupt Guba poll. NEMA warns of imminent flood in rivers in weeks. Please, people in rivers, you need to stay safe. In the riverine areas of the south region. Obasanjo, Abdusalami, Gusau meets IBB in Mina. The Naira may rebound on on back of the federal government's $900 million domestic dollar bond. And below that, at the bottom, that will say flood. Nigeria receives about 50 tons of relief material from UAE. These are the stories that you'd find on the Daily Independence. Now let's take a look at the Punch. All right, quickly. It's still major story is still talking about the Dangote and NNPC. Differs on prices. Labour Party aburesus INEC over caretaker exco. How I was rescued from collapsed Edo building, landlord's daughter said. And the NIN and SIM linkage telcos begin disconnection as deadlines end. Also, we have 2027 Wike's loyalists move against Fubara's second term bid. There's the APC and PDP clash over rigging plot on Wike's cousin as wreck. Seems to be a lot of drama happening in the political scene. But yes, joining us virtual to dissect just few of these topics is Ben Shemak. He's a former director, News, Voice of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, let's start by taking a look at this controversy of the flood that happened in Borno State, where they're saying about 400 million was budgeted for 4 years and nothing was done, where people are even talking about how it has defected 9 years ago, but nothing was done about it. And it, of course, cost us displacement and even death. What is your take on that?
Yeah, the truth of the matter has to do with negligence on the side of the dam managers. Because year in, year out, not even up to a year, they are supposed to be what you call inspecting the integrity of the bounds or the boundaries or the embankments of the dam. If you realize that some trees are growing around the boundaries or the banks of the dam, the integrity therefore is in question. If you realize there are cracks around the bounds, it implies that there could be any accident as we have it now. So if year in, year out, up to 9 years, there have always been budgets for that dam to be taken care of, then who indeed has failed in terms of oversight function? Is it federal government, is it state government, or both? Someone has to be held accountable for manslaughter, because this is an unintended kind of a killing that has taken place. So there is negligence. Someone should be held accountable for it. And that is the whole truth about it. Because someone will have to, every year you have people whose job it is to check the dams, to ensure that the integrity is there. And if money is so allocated by the federal government, who has failed to do the oversight function? Is it the lawmakers at the federal level? Is it the lawmakers at the state level? Someone has to be held accountable for this.
I mean, we're talking about accountability. We all know, if at all there is someone getting, someone to be held accountable, we know how it would be painted as witchcraft or witch hunt rather. And it breaks our heart that this is happening. But then talking about clarity, transparency, and accountability, let's hear your take on what is happening from yesterday, 15th September, where NNPC said they're going to start uplifting petrol from the Dangote refinery. There's been back and forth, from this camp. But then still, Nigerians have not gotten a clear, concise answers and details that they need. So what is your take on this?
It is still another game to deceive Nigerians. If Dangote came to say, look, he's going to build a refinery, and Nigerians clap for him. Today, that baby has come to tourism. We expect that we should be having access to petrol, fuel generally. Remember when he started with the diesel, prices went down. We are now hearing that even those who are marketers in the diesel sector are saying that Dangote diesel is too cheap. They are not making that money. Now we're seeing again petrol has come in. And NNPC is saying we bought at this, and Dangote is saying no, you didn't buy it that way. We bought it this way. Dangote too should tell us how much they sold the product to NNPCL. NNPCL too. be, honest. What is it that you are hiding that Nigerians shouldn't know? We should know. One day things will come out. And you see, they are taking Nigerians' patience for granted. When the bubble bursts, and we pray it does not, the patience of Nigerians is being over-tested. And that is what we are witnessing today in Nigeria. I think there is deceit in high places, and that should stop if we are going to move forward. People were saying that Dangote will change the whole scenario. Why is it that today we have crude in Nigeria? Dangote still has to import crude oil from America, from Brazil, even Libya that is in crisis, when we have it just within ourselves. But you have some people arguing that Nigeria needs more of the foreign exchange. Therefore, crude that Nigeria has should be sold to the international community. I think that it is the best father who indeed is feeding his children very well, that is a father, and not the one who wants to show that charity begins abroad, not at home. It is a wrong approach when it comes to the economy of this country.
All right, we will definitely continue to push and until we get what Nigerians deserve in our country. Thank you so much, Ben Shamak, for joining us to dissect the front pages. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Right. Now, that was Ben Shamak, a former director news and voice of Nigeria. And with that, of course, we have to wrap up the show here. Daybreak on Trust Television. Do not forget it will return tomorrow, same time, same station. Stick with us. Top of the hour. Emmanuel. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Do have a lovely Monday.